brother. You know, this time of the year, it's election season. It's also football season. But anyway, you know, but anyway, I think about something that took place in the election of 2016, how Russia really made an effort to invade our network and through our internet of different things, especially through social media. And I'm going to use an example here. I never forget, this is when Donald Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. I remember looking at something on Facebook, and I saw it, and it says, Hillary Clinton, if elected, is going to ban deer hunting in the United States. And I was like, really? And here's the thing. People was believing that. Because guess what? I was at a football game. So this has happened during the fall season. I was at a football game, had a young man talking to me. And I'm the type, I get away from the politics stuff because I'm like, I'm not going to do this. But he said, guess what, man? He said, I heard Hillary Clinton is going to ban deer hunting in the United States. He actually told, I was like, come on, man. Don't believe that. That is not true. You know, but that's how easily, because of something that's put out there, if we don't know those facts or whatever, you know, don't go and repeat those things. Be careful. You know, another thing, when we look at this and we talk about a world of falsehoods, be careful, and I've been guilty of this too. Be careful of the people that say, they said. Who is they? Because I've been guilty of that before. I was looking at a news source here about a week ago, and the man said, well, they said. And he said, who is they? And he couldn't answer it. Who is they? Because that becomes a problem too. They said this and they said that, and word of facts. I'm just being honest with you, you know. Sometimes when I want to know something, if something's true or false, I go to Google. Google's pretty reliable. It's pretty reliable. But see, what we have to be careful is when people send these certain little links. Click on this link, and it's going to show you that what I'm telling you is true. Come on. Be careful. But we also look at it, and that's from a worldly standpoint of view because we can easily get caught up in that. But what's bad is when, from a church standpoint of view, a spiritual standpoint of view, that somebody is coming that's deceiving you and that's giving you what you want to hear. And you know that's how cults get started. See, they prey on the weakness of people, leaders or so-called leaders or those men that are like wolves in sheep clothing. They prey on the vulnerabilities, the weakness of people. And they'll tell them anything that they want to hear. And people follow them blindly. The blind leading the blind. There was a thing that came years ago, fake news. Now, I remember coming up, I looked at the news. It's pretty accurate. We know that we know there's going to be some deception here or there, but the word fake news comes. So here's the thing I looked at it when it came to fake news. If you tell somebody something, oh, that's fake, and when it goes against whoever you're favoring, or it could be your candidate too. Oh, brother, that's not true. That's fake news. But then when it talks about that fake news says something about the opponent that you don't like. Now you see, you heard what they said about them. Well, wait a minute. I thought that was fake news. So if we're going to take it all together, isn't that fake too? But see how we pick and choose and how we take a side in situations instead of saying, okay, Lord, number one, should I be concerned about this? Because lots of times there's some things we shouldn't even be concerned about. You know who should be concerned about? Jesus. Who am I representing? I'm representing Jesus. That's who I need to identify with is Jesus. And that's where the change comes. That's where the truth comes in. That cuts away through those lies. You know, in that song it says, we tear down those walls. Yeah, wow. Here's a news flash. Jesus is not a Republican or a Democrat. And sometimes we'll get on an agenda, social issues. I'm talking social issues now. We know sin is sin. We'll get on a social issue, and boy, we'll take a stance, and we'll start The other side, we'll start demonizing. And I've seen things. I've seen people post stuff about, it's like, really? I've seen pastors get up and says, this political party is from the pits of hell. So now all of a sudden you're grouping a bunch of people because, like I say, our identity needs to be in Christ, but you start to group a bunch of people and start to demonize them and, in a sense, slander them. And you know what that appeals to? The people that's maybe mentally unstable, that wants to take up a gun or something and say, well, if they're like this, I'm going to put a stop to it. Those are people that have the zealot type of spirit. Let me say this, and I'm not going to keep staying on this because I know it could be controversial. Our identity in Christ, January 6th, when that Capitol was invaded, there were people out there that was protesting. Now, look, I have nothing against protesting. That's our freedom. You're free to protest. But when you see people that's trying to break in the walls, break down the doors, and they're out there with Jesus flags, I've seen it. Carrying Jesus flags, people's lives was lost. And you know, fast forward, some people think, and some in the political arena think that wasn't all that. Some representatives that's in Congress now that was in fearing for their lives now are saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. Really? That happened. And that's when people took a side and you calling yourself Jesus, and you holding up a Jesus flag, and that's okay. Because, see, we could get caught up in our own little things in our thought process and thinking that, well, hey, I was doing this on behalf of Jesus. There was the lie that came out the election was stolen. There was 60-something judges that said everything was fine. It went through the court system, but people still say the election was stolen. I've never heard that before. All the years I've been, because of one person, a person can get, see, this is where we got to be careful. One person can get up here and say something way out the box, and if we're not careful, we run right to that and say, wow, that's the gospel. That's the gospel of this candidate. That's the gospel of this person, this little figure over here. That's the gospel. That becomes your gospel. So who are we identifying with? It needs to be Jesus. Jesus can help us weigh those things. Be in the world, but not of the world. And see, when we get caught up and we get on that soapbox and trying to convince somebody of something, is Jesus trying to do it that way? And we supposed to represent Jesus? No. No. Let's do our takeaways.